When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, Mek we talk, my people, Mek we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Mek we talk, people, Mek we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, Mek we talk. Hey. When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, Mek we talk, my people, Mek we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Mek we talk, people, Mek we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, Mek we talk. Hey, we're living in a world.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Wherever you're listening and watching from around the world, on the Eastern Caribbean, this is the Mek Wi Talk program. A news roundup for the week. Today's Thursday, June 6, 2024. Wherever you're listening and watching, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Mek Wi Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. So many news going on, so many topics, and of course there is something blasting social media. It's not everything we must get ourselves involved in, but there is a topic that's blasting social media right now. But we're going to speak about the dual citizenship that the former Prime Minister speak about in his presentation at the University of the West Indies yesterday. We're also going to speak about other news coming into us. There's an item of news that is coming into us that I need to, as soon as it come to my, as soon as it come to my phone, I will pass it on to you all. I do not know what happened to me this morning. My tongue is twisted up for some reason. I don't know why. But in the meanwhile, we're going to talk about other news that is on our radar that many of us haven't seen or heard about. Apparently, the People's National Party General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell is asking Miss Michelle Charles if she had renounced her U.S. citizenship. There is so much thing that is going on in the news this afternoon. And also, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Ms. Juliet Holness, has announced new security measures for Garden House. The daughter... Good afternoon to my good friend, my brother Mikey T, over there in Ontario, Canada. Aye, boy, I won't talk about what anyway, Jeffrey, behave yourself. The daughter of slain businessman Keith Clark became overwhelmed as she took to the stand. in the courthouse of her slain father, where I still remain and I still believe, this is my opinion, that Keith Clark was assassinated by the state of Jamaica. It cannot be that 21 bullets was pumped into a Jamaican citizen body and nothing comes out of it. 21 bullets. Good afternoon to everyone on this platform here. Good afternoon, good morning. Wherever you listen from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean. Remember to share the live and like up the live here. Share it and like it and subscribe for me, please. I mean, I will touch on a topic that you all are hearing on social media, but that's something I don't really want to touch on, but I will touch on it. Yes. 21 bullets was pumped into Keith Clark's body. His upper body. 21 bullets. Asha, good morning to you, my darling. 21 bullets was pumped into Keith Clark's body. And nobody not talking about it. A Jamaican citizen. There was no proof that Keith Clark was the accountants of incarcerated Dudus Court. No proof at all. Rumors going around, and because we Jamaicans love to listen to gossip and rumors, we believe that this man was involved in so many things with Dudus Court. Further from the truth. American artist Sean Kingston was released on Tuesday after posting bail. Sean Kingston, a well-known artist out of here in Jamaica. He was born in Jamaica. I think he's a Jamaican parentage. Yes. He was released. The St. Catherine police are investigating a suspicious drowning of a teenage boy in the Rio Cobre. Mama. A young man on social media who posted things about Daryl Vaz was to apologize or face lawsuit. The young man apologized to the minister. And that is why I'm saying to us all on this program here. When you hear Jeffrey say, be careful of what you say. When you may say, boy, Jeffrey afraid and Jeffrey this and Jeffrey that. We have to be careful what we say on social media about other people, you know. Because there's a thing that called the Cyber Act that Jamaica signed on to. They can sue you. And if we don't have the proper proof of certain things, don't go out there and speak about it, because I will not do that either. We have to have the proof. Anyway, this young man had apologized sincerely to the transport minister of a post he made on social media. He apologized to him. He apologized to him. Opposition spokesperson on investment and commerce, Anthony Hilton, welcomed the passage of a new custom act. Apparently, there's a new custom act in Jamaica that Anthony Hilton is welcoming. My honest opinion, as we do the news roundup today, my honest opinion is that when it comes on to the Custom Agency of Jamaica, everybody down there need to go. Every single solitary soul of the Custom Department in Jamaica need to go. Because guns coming into the country, and they blame people in the diaspora for the guns that coming in. Look what happened. The American government in New York well, the American police, them in New York, rather, the police department in New York, watching a Jamaican truck sell food from Wappy Kill Philip. They've been watching it. And they have been selling guns and food and guns and food and drugs. And they watch it come. Until they make the move. Not one soul was killed. But in the land of wood and water, when a shipment of gun come into Jamaica, they don't wait until somebody come collect it, you know. Somebody go snitch out and say, listen to me. Don't go down there. Because they know they already find that the gun is there. So you don't go down and go collect nothing. When they done, they blame other people. So they are the one who's selling the guns. They don't do their investigation. Not one soul was shot in New York pertaining to this. Food truck in the heart of New York City. In the heart of New York City. I want to play an audio clip in here by Dayton Campbell. Speaking about Michelle Charles, who is a U.S. citizen, who is sitting in the Parliament of Jamaica.
In relation to Dr. Michelle Charles, her name does not appear on the list of persons that have renounced their citizenship. And each time somebody asks, she has a very terse and oftentimes insulting remark in response to the question. And I think she owes the country an answer.
Every time they ask her about her citizenship, she don't answer anybody. And it's not on the list because there's a list that is circulating and that I have the list too, you know. It was on Wayne Lonesome program. Wayne showed the list and I got the list too. Her name isn't on it. That she renounced her citizenship at all. I want you all to listen to what Dr. Campbell had to say again.
She is a servant of the people. She's an elected member of the parliament. And she owes the country. If she has renounced, she needs to come forward and show the evidence as to when. In lieu of that, the PNP would have no option but to take the matter to the court of the land. So we started the conversation with the person who contested the election first, because that's the individual that will have to take them. We'll be having a meeting from legal mind, but the initial evidence is there. The document was put in place because of the previous court case. Somebody didn't renounce, that means they would have also lied on the document, and so they couldn't claim not to be aware that it was not allowed.
You know, if we do our history, you know, if my memory serves me correctly, Douglas Mandley, the brother of the late Michael Mandley, he's also late Douglas Mandley, was a dual citizen, you know, and he was in the parliament, and I think he renounced his citizenship. I think it was the United States, yes. So this dual citizenship has been going on in this country way before me and you was born. Way before you and I was born. That's what Dr. Campbell is demanding that Dr. Michelle Charles, the member of parliament for St. Thomas Eastern, I think, she needs to tell the people of Jamaica if she's a U.S. citizen, yes or no. And she needs to tell the people of Jamaica now. We can't have people blaming other people being U.S. citizens, British citizens, when they're sitting in there. I think the Prime Minister of Jamaica opened up a can of worms, you know. It's either the PM knew that he have some people on his side who has dual citizenship, and he used that to open up a can of worms when he said that he don't believe that the leader of the opposition, nor himself, should have dual citizenship in Jamaica. And when he opened up that can of worms, he didn't know that it would become a big blunder. Well, I shouldn't have a big blunder. It become a big hullabaloo. were on his side. So many of them sit in the Parliament of Jamaica with citizenship. Huh? Some of them sit in the Parliament there. But you know, let me say something on this platform here. Please, please, ladies and gentle people, do not come on my platform and style people as dog and drunker. We're all Jamaicans. If you're from a PNP or a JLP, it doesn't matter. We're all entitled to our opinions. So don't come on the platform and style people as dog and drunker. Come on. Where is Annie? We're gonna touch another item of news that is on the surface here. Where the daughter of Keith Clark is on the stand giving her testimony about her father's killing. I want to touch on something else that is in the news. And people may say, boy, Jeffrey, boring today, but it's up to you all. Member of Parliament, Mek Crawford, denied having an affair with the Prime Minister of Jamaica. I listened to this thing yesterday, you know. And when I listened to it yesterday, my heart goes out to Rhoda Crawford. And one of the reasons why I must say my heart goes out to Rhoda Crawford, you know what? I'm going to block your backside from here. Usher yourself out of here. What the hell do you think it is? Get out of here. Get yourself out of here. On a bloody JLP propagandist. No come away with no nastiness. Get out of here. That is why I don't entertain certain conversation over here, you know. My heart goes out to Rhoda Crawford because when I listen to Rhoda, Member of Parliament Crawford, and she know, I call her Rhoda, Miss Crawford, Member of Parliament, Miss Rhoda Crawford. Yes. When I listen to how the young lady spoke on Nationwide, my heart goes out to her. And one of the reasons why is that, you know, it is not good when people start spreading propaganda against you. I do not know if or not the ladies have it, whatever with whatever. I don't care, none of my business. But when you have, according to her, rumor, them spreading on her, when you have people spreading rumor on you, it brings tears to your eyes. And it should not be that we as Jamaicans, because of politics, we're going to start belittle somebody. It's the same way. If something should happen to me, and it comes out on the news, everybody on social media would say, yes, a long time I know, say, Mek Wi talk, blah, 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 blah. And it will be the biggest thing on social media. Because we Jamaicans love gossiping. We don't know the truth about certain things, you know. And as I said before, I'm not taking no for anybody. I don't know nothing. And nor do I wish to know. But when you hear somebody hurting, and I think that young lady is hurting. I think she's hurting.
I see some wild accusations, you know, and you know, Cliff, I don't want to really get out there and say certain things now, but you know, at the right time, I will share. But what I want to encourage other young people who are out there, still do not be deterred by the negativity and what you see happening, because it's good people with good intentions. Step aside and Jamaica is doomed. Cliff, it is because of my love for my people and my love for my country why I'm sticking this out and I'm fighting hard. I don't know if in recent time any other young individual have come under the kinds of attacks that I have come under. And why? I came in, young person from a poor family, sold in the market with my mother to help to get a good education, have my master's degree, doing my PhD, which I've had to put on hold because of how immersed I am in this politics. I got out there. Every resource that I have gotten, I go out there and I spend it on the people. When we don't get enough from CDS, I reach out to ministers, I reach out to private sector. And instead of applaud the effort of the young member of parliament and aspire to some of the members of parliament and some of those in the political arena are guilty of it too. So instead of emulate then what is good, you have people that start off with a rumor, oh, how is Rhoda able to do so much work? She must be getting more money. And then now they keep adding to it. Oh, she must be involved with the Prime Minister. That's why she getting more money. These things are heartbreaking. You have families involved. You have people involved. The latest I see now, click on social media, is that I got pregnant for Prime Minister and did an abortion. Those things are hurtful. Those things are sickening. And then you have others, you know, Cliff, that take it and they run with it and they put this out there and they don't have any consideration for how these things hurt people and their family. Wake up.
Let me ask this question though. Isn't there more important and pressing things in this country we could discuss? Isn't more important thing and pressing things in this country? Huh? We have teachers going missing. $1.7 trillion unaccountable for. People from Negril Point to Moran Point asking for water. Some of the roads are not fixed. Our education system is out of whack. Huh? Our education system is out of whack. Our security system is out of whack. The borders around Jamaica are not secure. Majority of our Jamaican people can't afford a loaf of bread. And we're here thinking about what happened between that person and this person. Our constitution reform. Our people have never seen a copy of the constitution. I've never read a copy of the constitution. And I know I'm not gonna get a lot of people over here today. I know people gonna come off because Jeffrey not talking their language. I am not taking it for anybody. I wasn't there. It's none of my business. Isn't there issues that we can speak about? That is pressing that the people of our country need? No, I do not know why the young lady came out and spoke. But obviously, when you listen to her, she's hurting from within. Hurting deep, deep. And as I said before, God forbid anything should happen to me. None of us is perfect in this world. It's the same way my name will be dragging through the modern social media. The same people who are on social media, they'll be dragging my name through the mud. Yesterday, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Percival James Patterson, gave a renowned speech yesterday at the University of the West Indies about dual citizenship. I want you all to listen to what he said. Because the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, really laid out good for us to also understand. And that is what I'm saying to you. What we need to do now is really focus on the reforming of our Constitution. Listen to what he said.
It is my considered view that Section 40 should not be confined to parliamentarians, but extended. In my time, there were 2 appointments I had to make. The people disclosed to me that they held citizenship of another country. I told them, not putting any pressure on you, you have a choice. Renounce and stay where you are. Or if you want to accept this position, because of its sensitivity, you have to renounce. Both without hesitation proceeded to renounce and were duly appointed to their positions. There are some positions that I think have to make it clear that allegiance is to Jamaica alone. For example, the Chief of Staff. Otherwise, you're exposing the person to charges of treason. The Permanent Secretary and members of the Defense Board.
The former Prime Minister, when he said the Permanent Secretary and the Chief of Defense, the Chief of Staff of the Jamaica Defense, the JDF, he's correct. We can't have a member of the Jamaica Defense Force who is the Chief of Staff of the Defense Force have dual citizenship. We've been serious problem in this country. And what the former Prime Minister is saying is correct. These are the things that we must think about. These are the things we must speak about. These are the things that we must demand from our government. That we need access and we need to have a say in what you're doing in the reforming of our Constitution. And yesterday, what I take away from what Mr. Patterson said is when he said that the late Prime Minister Edward Seaga called him and said to him that the country is divided in 2016 based on the amount of people voted in that election. And when the former Prime Minister went on to say that the late Prime Minister Edward Seaga literally said to him, our country is divided. And as if he would say that, hey, what happened to the country that we all came and see? Our politics has divided this nation. Our politics has divided this nation. What can we do now to bridge the gap of division in this country? When you listen to the presentation by the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, it opened up your eyes that those who are reforming our constitution need to get the people in. Let the people have a say in reforming of the constitution. That's exactly what the former Prime Minister was saying. And I believe that we as Jamaicans must have a say. What I don't agree with the former Prime Minister with is when he said that the president should be a ceremonial figurehead. Prime Minister Patterson, as I said on the platform, I don't agree with you, sir. Prime Minister Patterson, I don't agree with you. I think the people of Jamaica, Prime Minister Patterson, should have a right to vote for their president. You see? He said that he and Edward Seaga was at loggerhead put into the constitution reform, you know. But there wasn't always see eye to eye. But I believe, Prime Minister Patterson, you gave a very good reason when it comes down to the Constitution, but I do not support the idea, Mr. Prime Minister, that Jamaica should have a figurehead as a president. No. The time has come for us as Jamaicans, we the Jamaican people, must elect our leaders. We must elect the president and we must elect the prime minister. That is my honest opinion, and I think a lot of Jamaicans from all walks of life is saying the same thing. I'm gonna look for that, Sam. I was trying to search for certain things on it, but the thing that edit my videos just stopped working. So I had to also go over to somewhere else and get something from there. But yes, the Minister of Constitutional Affairs, Ms. Molly Mallow-Fort, asked both Prime Minister Patterson and Golding questions. Yes. And I'm pretty much sure I speak on the behalf of a lot of Jamaicans who want their president to be elected. No. The former Prime Minister went on to say, yes, we're going to call him out, my good friend. We have been calling him out. The PM is lying about a lot of things. I agree with you. What I believe and what I agree with the former Prime Minister, with Prime Minister Patterson, that we the people must demand that both Prime Minister Andrew Holness and opposition leader go back to the very royal talks. What the former Prime Minister said is that Royal is under refurbishment. What they should do is go into a hotel and do not leave until they come to a decision in the reforming of this constitution that we so want. And we, the people of Jamaica, must demand that what is going in the Constitution will be for the benefit of our people and for generations to come. He went on to say that when this generation pass, or our generation pass, then the next generation must come together and demand if they should have an elected president. Why can't we do it in now? Why can't this generation make it prepared? Prepare it for the future generation. But we must elect our president. Why is it so hard for you to put in the Constitution if we're reforming it? That we must elect our president. The Prime Minister went on to say that the Privy Council was not handed down from London to us. Our forefathers, Buster Manty and Michael Manley, was the one who asked for it to be Jamaica's final court of appeal. So many of us have been saying that England was the one who handed down the Privy Council to us. No! Based on what former Prime Minister Patterson said, it was Buster Norman Manley who asked for Jamaica's final court to be in London. The former Prime Minister went on to say that he strongly believed, Jamaica has been spending millions of dollars on the Caribbean Court of Justice. The former Prime Minister said that he strongly believed, and I believe it. Honestly, I believe that with him too, that Jamaica's final court of appeal should be the Caribbean Court of Justice. Jamaica can't afford its final court. We can't afford to have a final court here in Jamaica because we can't afford to pay the judges and all those things when we have other courts to pay and everything like that. We already have money invested in the Caribbean Court of Justice. And I believe that Jamaica's final court of appeal should be the CCJ. If we are going to say bye-bye to the monarch, then we must say bye-bye for everything. I don't remember if the former Prime Minister said anything about Jamaica being a member of the Commonwealth same way. Because we're a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. I think he did say something about it, you know. And I need to go back and search for it. As I said, the thing wasn't working properly, so for me to edit, you know. Jamaica, for us to say goodbye to the monarch, I think we should say goodbye to the Commonwealth of Nations. Yes, Robert, I believe you. Yes, Robbie Kennedy. I think he said that we should say bye-bye to the Commonwealth too, you know. It doesn't make any sense for us want to have our say in everything that we do. And we're going to say bye-bye to London, bye-bye to King Charles and everybody. And yet we're still hanging on their court. We're still hanging on as a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. No, and that is why I keep on asking the question. If the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mr. Andrew Michael Holness, knew that they're going to say bye-bye to the Privy Council, to London, why did you waste taxpayers' money to push Camellia Johnson Smith to run as Secretary General of the Commonwealth? Why? It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. We spend millions of dollars pushing Camilla Johnson Smith to become Secretary General of the Commonwealth. When we're saying bye-bye to the Commonwealth, to Britain, to the monarch, we need answers from the Prime Minister with this. We need answers. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to search for the video clipping of the Prime Minister yesterday. I'm going to play it. We need to sit down and analyze and memorize and listen keenly to what the former Prime Minister had to present to the people of Jamaica. Because former Prime Minister PJ Patterson gave some very important analysis of the Constitution to us yesterday. And I want you all to listen to it. Yes, it broadcast on the platform yesterday. But we need to analyze it. Because the former Prime Minister didn't mince. He spoke in layman terms for all of us to understand what he was saying. Every single one of us to understand what he was saying. He spoke in layman terms. There was no highfalutin words that we couldn't understand. The former Prime Minister spoke for us all to understand. And I want you all to listen to what the Prime Minister was saying yesterday. We're going to go back and play it because we need to really understand what Prime Minister Patterson was talking about yesterday.
So for a very long time. And what he will do, as he ordinarily does, is to take with him his deliberate approach to doing things, and will very deliberately speak to us today about the constitutional journey that we've had in Jamaica from where it began. What we have currently, that is the 1962 Constitution, coming out of that passed on the 4th of July, 1962 order in council, and what has happened since. But he will speak to that process. He will give us his own views on it and give us a better understanding.
Hold on there for a minute. Let me address somebody on this platform here. Let me address somebody on this platform here. I tell you something. You're entitled to your speech. Don't come and tell me that I should be ashamed to have PJ Patterson on my platform. That is why many of us don't have any cabeza. The Prime Minister was speaking about the Constitution of this country. And many of you have never read the Constitution. So don't come over and tell me I should be ashamed to have PJ Patterson on my platform. The man was speaking about the Constitution that we all need to know about. He was one of the founding members of the Constitution when it was being formed. Back in the days. So if you don't want to hear when me speak, or who I bring on my platform, then go somewhere else. It's full time we take politics out of this. It's full time we talk about our country and speak about what is going on in the country. It's constitution reform. Constitution reform. And if we have somebody to speak to us about constitutional reform, we must all listen. So if you have a beef with PJ Patterson and Luciaga, let's go somewhere else with it.
understanding of it. And so at this moment, it gives me very great pleasure, as it does, of course, the University of the West Indies, the Faculty of Law in particular, and all of us as a nation, and those broadly beyond who are listening and observing what we're doing, to hear Mr. Patterson present his own words to us and to tell us the context in which the Constitution as we have it was developed, and to look as well at some of the outcomes that we could possibly be looking at as we're contemplating constitutional reform at this.
Former Prime Minister, Mr. Bruce Golding, who I especially welcome because he's one of the few persons who entered Parliament in 1972, still alive today. Distinguished guests as you all are, both those present and online. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your presence and your willingness to participate as we gather for a reasoning on the Jamaican Constitution. It is my honor, and I felt it was my duty to share with you such perspectives as time will allow on the background, the origin, the operation, and the future as we seek to indigenize our Constitution, abolish the monarchy, and achieve full sovereignty at last. I begin with the 30th of May, 1960. I was walking on the main street in Morant Bay. We were preparing for a federal by-election because Robert Lightburn had resigned from the federal House to successfully contest the seat in the 1959 election. And Edwin Allen, who had lost in northwestern Clarendon, was supposed to be the candidate for the seat. As I was walking towards the campaign office for which I was responsible, I saw the unmistakable figure of Sir Alexander Bustamante walking towards me with a crowd of about 30 persons or so. I thought it prudent to try and duck behind the wall. But he had spotted me. And when he came to where I was, he said, "Come here, Sonny. I thought you had followed my advice. I told you long ago to be off to London to study the law, to see if you could be even half as good in the law as my cousin Norman. Instead of following my advice, he has you running up and down the country like mad ants." And then he said, you will soon see it will all come to naught." I didn't understand what he meant. But that night, on his return to Kingston, he announced that the Labour Party, which he led, would be mounting a campaign to leave the Federation. That resulted in a meeting of the cabinet the following day and Norman Manley's decision to announce his intention to hold a referendum. When that referendum was held by a majority of 40,000 persons, the people decided that Jamaica should go on its own. Following that, a resolution of the House, moved by the Premier, established what was a joint committee to prepare proposals for an independent Jamaica. Please remember that by then, Jamaica had attained what was called full self-government in the Constitution of 1959. And even for some matters that were reserved, like external policy, Norman Manley had found a way of getting around it. So, for instance, we had imposed a ban on goods from South Africa, and we had also required visas for persons entering from South Africa. After deliberations, the Joint Committee took the decision that Jamaica would be a constitutional monarchy with a bicameral legislature. And that decision determined the contours and the framework of the draft constitution, and delegations proceeded from two sides to London to conclude the new Jamaican constitution. I was privileged to have an insider's view of everything that was taking place.
Has a bird eye view back when the Jamaican Constitution was first formed, with Lightburn, former late Governor General Sir Flowers L. Glaspole, and all of them, Clarence Campbell and all of them, because he had a bird eye view in all of it. That is why it doesn't matter. 18 years PJ was in power, he did nothing for Jamaica. It's neither here nor there. What I'm talking about is the reform of our present constitution. And we must listen. We must listen and pick sense out of nonsense. Yes, it came on yesterday, but some of us didn't really get the grasp of it. So listen to what he's saying.
In fact, I was required on my way to LSE to stop at the hotel to find what would be going on for the day, and to stop on my way home when they had returned from Lancaster House to learn what had transpired. And when there were receptions and Bustamante and his delegation were present, Buster would say to me, "My cousin gave me hell today." Or when things went his way, he would say, "My cousin was as brilliant as no one else could be today." The Jamaican Constitution was the first of its kind. And among other things, it created the position of the leader of the opposition and vested that holder with certain specific duties and functions. I think you have to understand the context in which those negotiations were taking place. Norman Manley was the premier. Bustamante had just won the referendum. There was no compulsory requirement for an election to be held, although Bustamante was demanding it. And therefore, both were negotiating a constitution when neither knew who was going to be the prime minister and who would be losing and therefore ending up as leader of the opposition. And that is fundamental to any understanding of how the Constitution was designed. So they created a Senate, 13-8, regardless of what was the majority in the House of Representatives, and entrenched certain provisions which could only be changed if you got at least one vote from the opposition side in the Senate. The leader of the opposition was also vested with the right to be consulted on certain critical appointments. And I'm going to have to say a word more about what consultations mean and what it doesn't mean. Bustamante was heard to say very soon, I have to consult, but I don't have to get agreement. And we have to look at what that has resulted in the course of time. There were some issues that had to be resolved in London and, of course, sanctioned by the Colonial Office. But I think it's true to say that the broad provisions in the Constitution were determined by the two parties representative at the talks. Bustamante had a way of saying things in very short, simple, but profound terms. And he announced from the start, I am with the Queen and for the Queen, full stop. He then left it to his delegation. And of course, Manley, the legal scholar, who was steeped in the doctrine of the greatest authority on the unwritten English Constitution, Professor Dicey, was the one who crafted the provisions of the Constitution that not only entrenched the monarchy deeply, but I should point out that if a referendum is held where there is not a 2/3 majority from the Senate, it can't be changed by a simple majority in the referendum. It has to be done by 2/3 majority in the referendum. And please bear in mind that no political party in its heyday, no matter the sweep, has ever won 2/3 of the vote of the electorate.
Wow. Wow.
There was, in accordance with the...
You heard what the former Prime Minister said? That no political party in his heyday has ever won 2/3 majority of the vote in the Senate. None. We're not going to continue with this because we all watched it yesterday. But you get a drift of what I'm talking about, that we all should get involved in the decision making of our constitution. You all get a drift of what I'm trying to say. We all need to, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we're reforming our constitution will affect our children for years to come. And that is why I am pushing for everybody, every Jamaican from all walks of life. It doesn't matter if you hate PJ Patterson or love PJ Patterson. What we need to demand, that we the people must have a say in the drafting of a new constitution. And one of the say is, 1, we must elect our president. 2, we must elect our prime minister. 3, term limits. It can't be that we have a prime minister running willy-nilly. And we must also have impeachment proceeding put in place in our constitution and fixed election date. Those are the 5 things that I can remember that we, the Jamaican people, must have a say in the reforming of our constitution. We must have a say. 1, fixed election date. 2, I'm being distracted here. 1, fixed election date. 2, impeachment proceedings. Vote for president and prime minister. We can't have a constitution where the people don't have any say in it. And they must go around and educate the people some more. That's exactly what the former prime minister is saying. How on earth can you decide to have a referendum when the people don't know one thing they have a referendum about? Huh? The people must have a say in it. We're going to continue some more. And if those who want to call in and speak about what the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, said yesterday, you can call into the number and call me now. 954-529-8030. 954-529-8030. That's the number to call in to the program. Because yesterday we didn't get the chance to really open up the lines yesterday. And I think it's what, July 31st, they're gonna be a constitutional reform program with former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. Hopefully we can get the feed to bring it to you all live. But if you want to call in and talk about anything else, talk about what is going on in the country and constitutional reform, you can do that, please. 954-529-8030. Hold on for me. My friends from Antigua and Barbuda, you're supposed to send me a text. Send me the text now, please. Or is it from Antigua? Yes. 954-529-8030. That's the number to call into the program. There's somebody who called me earlier on, supposed to send me a text on something. I have to receive the text all now. I want to give the news to the people that know the news. You haven't sent it to me yet. But anyway, What we're doing today is a news roundup. I gave a little bit of the news a while ago. We're going to give you some more of what is going on in the news today. Yes. Yes. What we're doing now, let me go back down to something here that was sent to me earlier on. Yes. There's a news inside here that the union want outstanding public servants compensation adjustment. These are the things that we need to talk about too, you know. Wherein we have our people not getting the compensation. That is why they don't want Corporal Ron James back in the Police Service Commission, you know. I want to listen to an item of news with Dr. Nigel Clark.
The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, announced last week that the government has settled negotiations on overtime and other key issues in the public sector compensation review exercise. Speaking at the JCSA's annual general meeting last Thursday, Dr. Clark stated that the new policy will resolve the inequities of overtime versus duty allowance and create a unified framework. He said this would be done under the new heading, Extra Work. Mr. Frater has welcomed the new policy.
In the public sector, you have various means of persons doing extra work and being paid at various rates. So you have some persons being paid at overtime rates, some persons being paid at duty allowance. We want to standardize the whole overtime situation because we believe that nobody should be worse off when doing extra work. So we are happy that the policy will be coming in force, and so that once persons from band 1 to band 12 does extra work, they will be paid the overtime once you have completed 40 hours work week. So we're happy for that.
However, he says he would like to see the Finance Ministry follow up on other agreements made with the JCSA.
Based on what the Minister of Finance would have said, we would have reached agreement on the vast majority of those items from as early as June last year. So while the minister is making pronouncement about us having an agreement, we have agreement in principle from last year. The only outstanding issue that was causing the hold-up was the payment of increment, because as you know that the government would have frozen increment at the implementation of the compensation restructuring, and that was unilaterally done.
Mr. Frater highlighted adjustments to travel allowances as a measure that is yet to be properly implemented. He says no progress has been made on some matters that were raised with Dr. Clark last year.
So we're saying that we prefer to see the action done than to hear the announcements. When you talk about passenger mileage, you talk about the retroactive mileage. All of those were agreed on in principle from last year. As a matter of fact, payment should have been made from the December quarter, and now we're in June. So we are more interested in the actual getting the thing done than pronouncement. We are no closer than we were a year ago.
Mahiri Stewart.
We're nowhere closer than we were a year ago. Nowhere closer. Father, help us, O Lord. Illegal firearms seized in St. Elizabeth. There has been an increase on a number of illegal firearms seized by the police in St. Elizabeth in the past couple of months, according to the superintendent of police in charge of that police division.
The police conducted an operation along the Goshen Main Road on Monday, June 3. Sometime at about 2 p.m., a white Nissan motor car was signaled to stop. The driver complied. During the search of the vehicle, 3 illegal firearms were found hidden in the compartments of the vehicle. The firearms include 2 Taurus 9mm pistols, 1 Smith & Wesson revolver, as well as 2 magazines. Driver was arrested and the motor vehicle seized. I wish to commend the officers for the detailed and diligent search, which resulted in the seizure of these weapons.
Superintendent Minter says 18 illegal weapons have been seized in St. Elizabeth since January of 2024.
We have in fact seen an increase in the number of firearms seized in the parish when compared to the corresponding period for last year. So far, we have seized 18 firearms when compared to 14 for the same period in 2023. This investigation is ongoing. The intel that we have now suggests that the driver was on his way to meet with an individual in the parish. So we're conducting and continuing an investigation surrounding this incident.
Meanwhile, Superintendent Minter said a 35-year-old contract worker has been charged with rape following an investigation nearly 2 years ago.
The police has charged Odin Lee, a 35-year-old construction worker of Barbary Hall in the parish, for the offense of rape, which was committed on the 8th of December 2022. Facts on the date in question, the complainant was offered a ride, during which the driver drove onto the Barbary Hall Sports Complex where the offense took place. A report was made to the police, the investigation launched, and a warrant issued for his arrest. The 30th of May 2024, the accused was arrested at the Norman Manley International Airport on his arrival into the country. He's set to appear before the St. Elizabeth Parish Court.
So him decided to go away. And upon his arrival, he was locked up. Very good. You heard about the Transport Minister Dalva say it will cost the government $11 billion annually to fund the transport sector for students in rural area. They want to put out the rural bus service will cost annually $11 billion. Let me listen. I want you all to listen to what the man is saying. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says it will cost the government of Jamaica about $11 billion annually to fund the rural bus services for students in Jamaica.
The problem is to achieve this objective, it is estimated that an annual subsidy of $10.623 billion will be required to adequately provide the rural school transportation system, the actual implementation of which is expected to be private sector driven. We have received support from the Ministry of Education for this initiative, and it is now to engage the Ministry of Finance and the public service as to how to fund its implementation. Madam Speaker, as a rural MP, I will not rest until the rural school transportation system is up and running and serving our nation's children. It is not lost on me, colleague Minister of Finance, that the announcement for water of $25 billion, the announcement for roads for $40 billion spark. I'm just asking you to give us some time to make that presentation to you, because I believe that where we are now, we can plan to even implement it on a phase basis, because $10 billion a year is not sustainable in the immediate future. But we need to do something. We see the horrific accidents happening. It can't continue. They cannot learn and excel in the conditions that they are traveling and the miles that they are walking every morning. To date, we have seen house buying completed for 2,403 houses in 19 communities, with procurement in progress for a further 700 houses to be wired in this financial year. Under the pole line extension component, 13 communities have projects approved by the JPS and are now in active implementation. A total of 6.7 kilometers of pole line extensions are being implemented.
Wow. Let's hope everything works out and they don't spend taxpayers' money willy-nilly. Because they have been spending taxpayers' money in this country willy-nilly, you know. Willy-nilly here and willy-nilly there. That's why they've been spending taxpayers' money in this country. So let's hope and pray that this work out fine. We're gonna take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, please. Let me find something here. I have to take a quick break. I have something coming into me that I need to put out to you all. But I have to take a quick break to go take it.
Break the silence. Break the silence. End the violence. In Jamaica's heart, where dreams should soar, we're faced with violence knocking at our door. Youth, both perpetrator and victim, caught in its snare, a cycle of despair, a burden hard to bear. But in their hearts, a spark ignites. They're not just victims, they are guiding lights. We call on our institutions, a unified stand, to break this cycle hand in hand. JLP and PMP, let's set aside the fray, a bipartisan approach to light our way. Mental health, a crucial part of restoration and healing, and giving our young people a brand new start. Let's invest in our youth, their potential untold, provide them with pathways to break the mold, education, opportunities, a chance to thrive, to rebuild Jamaica, a hope we can revive. Together, we'll arise with youth at the fore for a safer, brighter Jamaica forevermore. Break the silence, end the violence.
Welcome back to the program. We do apologize for this, but yes, there is something coming into us that I need to verify. I really need to verify this news here. And I don't want to give it out until I verify it, because it's about the young lady, the teacher lady, who was brutally murdered by this man who was deported from another country. Fitzbailey refused to give his name. Fitzbailey refused to give his name. But based on what we're having here, we have his name. I'm still waiting on someone from Antigua to send me some other stuff that I can put it out. Still waiting on that. All naturalized Jamaican citizens or US have dual citizenship. Of course they do. They do. They have dual citizenship, of course. I'm waiting on this lady to send me the thing because I want to give it all out to you all, because Fitzbailey refused to give the name of the individual who is involved. But we are getting the name here, but I have to hold on. We have to verify this. But I know what she's saying is the truth, and I'm just waiting on her to send it. Sorry, to save the same thing that I have. Because something was sent to me earlier on, but I have to. We want to give the name of it, the name of the individual. We even have the photograph of the individual too. Wow. The young lady was murdered in this country, you know. And you hear nothing from those people of the effluence of society. Nothing from anybody. Nobody condemning the murder of her. Nobody saying anything. And her mother is left mourning for the loss of her daughter. Well, there are so many things going around the country now with who there with who from who not there with who. Brothers fatally shot during police operation in the probe investigation. Indicom is probing an investigation where brothers were shot during police operation. You know, sometimes the police, they do some things, you see. It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Well, we're going to take a break from here because I'm still waiting for someone to send me the thing and they haven't sent it to me as yet. But we're going to take a break from here until we get in. If we get any other news that we can come on air with, we'll come on air with it. Good afternoon. How you doing? How you doing, Miss Elaine? Good afternoon to you. Wow. I see where Buster Rhyme and Buju Banton meet up in New York. And Buster is giving Buju some words of encouragement. Some words of encouragement. Hold on a minute for me. I wonder if my good friend Luke George could come on and give us some comment on what PJ Patterson said in the constitutional reform. Let's see if I can get a hold of Luke George Cook this afternoon. Maybe I can get a hold of Mr. Cook. So Luke, if you're hearing me, give me a call now. Hopefully he can give some Hello, Mr. Cook. Welcome to the Mek Wi Talk program, sir. I don't know if you can give us some comment on the constitutional reform program that Mr. Patterson had on the University of West Indies campus a couple of days ago, so yesterday.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tavares and your listeners.
Yes, sir.
Jeffrey, I'm of the opinion that we don't seem to have been able to entertain the most astute and brightest set of persons as it comes to constitutional reform.
Yes.
To me, it has become a political football because I'm of the opinion when we elect our elected representatives for the improvement of the quality of life, is it for them or for us? Because even what Mr. Patterson says utters a thought or a thought process that has left you a little bit more confused and a little bit more bewildered. However, there is a book that is sitting in front of me that I am just going through the book page by page. It was written by Lyde Barnett, and I think that it would be behooving of you and your listeners to get a copy of that book. I recognize when I acquired the book that it was a second edition, and so I have asked the person who got it for me. But in it, he outlines the chapters for us, just the layman, the ones who do not have the legal background. And in it, he says, for instance, he asks a set of questions that it's the same questions that I've heard you ask. I've asked you. So he talks about the chapters, look at the whole historical introduction, citizenship, the Charter of Rights and Freedom, Head of State Governor General,
finance in the office of the Governor General and the office of the Custodies. Then he looks at the Parliament, the House of Representatives, the right to vote, and then he looks at the electoral system, the Senate, the qualification of parliamentarian, termination of members, and so forth, the political executive. But for instance, let us just go here now. When I got a copy of this book, I was trying to see if I could get you a copy as well, because I think that it's a worthwhile thing to read.
Yes.
And I said to myself, I really have to get Barnett on your show because, Barnett, Lloyd G. Barnett, because the question is, when he finished the chapter, there are questions. So, for instance, if you look at citizenship, he said, should a person be allowed to retain his or her citizenship if he or she acquires citizenship from another state? And that's a question, and that comes after citizenship. So, page 6 talks about citizenship, and then he says, should the minister have the power to revoke the Jamaican citizenship of a person who gained it by registration? Should the constitution be amended so as to impose control and power of the parliament to make laws which may deprive Jamaicans of their citizenship? And then, these are provocative questions, and I think a reform of the Constitution with what Patterson and other learned counsels and jurists are saying gives the layman a thought now as to things that we all have been saying in the discussion. But, while Barnett and these other people are writing this book, you have a minister of legal affairs who is hell-bent on changing the constitution in this dispensation, using the large majority of the Jamaica Labour Party seats to sort of rush this through. So again, I think it's a good read. The questions are on par. It's a question that you ask. But the thing that I'm not seeing is that what will a new constitution look like? Are we just interested to remove the entrenchment of the King of England so that we can say we have become a republic? And have we really help people to understand what it is to have a republic, what will be the right of the citizen to hold the elected officers in government, given the Vibes Cartel situation? Where will be our final court of appeal, and how will our fate be decided? And what will happen to those who do not have the means of hiring lawyers to go to the United Kingdom? If that be the case, how will the Caribbean Court of Appeal absorb the cost for representation beyond the jurisdiction of Jamaica? So, as I said to you, it's a sad day because to me, brightness don't look so bright anymore because everything is on a crazy path. It's a rush to have this done. And you have to wonder, Jeffrey Tavares, what is the ulterior motive? And it is sad that in this day and age, as a Jamaican citizen, you have to wonder is it government for the people or government for the party, the ruling party? Because you don't get a sense that, for instance, Angela Brownberg said in her presentation recently, you must now include in the Constitution reform a strong piece of of legislation that says Jamaicans outside can serve in the Senate.
Yes.
And I thought, brilliant, because for so long, you know, when you look at how we treat our Jamaicans who have gone abroad and have done tremendous and unwavering contribution in so many spheres of our society, whether it's education. Some of it we don't even know, Jeffrey, because it's like you prostitute your diaspora. When you want money, when you want this, them come. I mean, I remember in COVID seeing a brother and a sister coming, one a nurse, one a doctor, and giving service to Jamaicans. And I thought that would have been a brilliant thing. But what would a new constitution look like, Jeffrey Tavares? If will it give people more power? Will it say that the people will have the right to vote out any member of the ruling or the opposition party who becomes offensive to the Jamaican people? The people have a right to elect their president. That must not necessarily, the president don't necessarily have to come from one of the political diatribe. Therefore, it must be a person who shows impartiality and would be able to execute the office of president without political interference or biasness. Can we now take the Jamaican, the ruling party to the Constitutional Court and says, why did you come out and outline that Jefferson Golden, who falls within the framework of the Constitution, but you didn't feel that it was important if you were going to highlight Jefferson Golden and says he doesn't have a right to sit in your parliament, but you have how many other members on your side holding dual citizenship? I mean, apart from Milton Samuda, who ducked Emily Crook's question, it's the first I've ever heard Milton Samuda almost bridle because Matthew, I've heard him bridle because he's so flamboyant in the way he speaks. He speaks as if, you know, JLP is here to stay, and there's nothing you can do about that. I didn't see the Prime Minister holding Minister Vaz to a higher standard of accountability. I didn't hear him chide Warmington, who seems to have become emboldened again by this recent activity. Him have to show me in passport. Him who? That's the leader of the opposition. And if you can't show respect to your opponent, even although we eat and drink and we talk and we have good camaraderie, we help out each other. Mm-hmm. But you have to go and show the young people in the society that we can disagree, but we must be tolerant, and we must have some sense of decency and decorum, because society strives, it grows on difference of opinion, but it grows when they are tolerant and respect, and we maintain each other's self-dignity. We can have vicious conversation, especially we who came from a culture of slavery, but the way we go about it now is so dogmatic and tribal. And it sends a message that for us to be wrong and strong, that's the new mantra of Jamaica. We must be wrong and strong. Yeah. And so, Tavares, the conversation must endure, you know. I don't think you need to let go constitutional reform, because if what is being proposed by this 21-member committee, it should be a recommendation for consultation and not an amendment that must be made. It really should be because God knows, I don't think I trust people like Spence, Dr. Spence. She come off more as being crass and
Look, let me ask you this question, though. Your take on this constitution. Do you believe that they should just get rid of the British constitution and form a new write a new constitution for Jamaica?
But I said it already. I've said it already. Let me say it again. I'm not for constitution reform. If it's not the total reform, and you're just taking out those entrenched areas,
Oh, yeah.
that's not a reform. That is a mandate for dictators to be born, for new SSR Führer to be given birth. That's not reform, because in this culture, Jeffrey, have you just look at the past week, the body of a teacher missing. All of a sudden, the driver is admitting that he killed her. And there are those saying, could it be possible somebody else killed her, but the driver can't do anything, so I'm have to take the fall for it. Right? The killing of the killing of the former MP's wife, just the circumstances surrounding that. So you really need a constitution that will have to reflect the current culture and to look at the proper punishment. But you also need one that gives power to the people. Anybody found participated in buying or taking a bribe for election must face must face at least 5 years imprisonment and a maximum of $1 million. To mitigate against, election reform must be done. Who give one the money? Where the money come from? If a minister of finance cannot account why $1.7 trillion dollars, he cannot serve within the parliament beyond a 2-year span. There must be time limit for elected representative. There must be time limit for who can run as prime minister. So because you have to protect the fact that people are sitting in your parliament now who have cancer, who can't hardly come, but they're not letting go the seat. Nobody's giving up the soup cup. Nobody don't want the gravy cup for broke. So there must be things in there that is practical, that at least it will give you the opportunity to circumvent who is there and then have people come in there. When you listen to young bright mind like Damian Crawford and you look at Hilton, and Mark Golding is way out of touch because he refuses to go and humble himself and say to Lisa, come back, because you are on the cutting edge, and to promote that sort of forward thinking that you hear Lisa Hanna come out with, that shows that she has depth of knowledge of the current reality facing the Jamaican people. If it is not the entire thing that we're reforming, Jeffrey, I will have none of it. I will stay with Britain on this one, and I don't care who wants to say otherwise, because I cannot trust my government. They have not been credible in my estimation.
Hold on for me, Luke. I think a lot of people don't understand what the Caribbean Court of Justice is. The Caribbean Court of Justice, and Luke, you can back me, tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm right. The Caribbean Court of Justice is not a court in Jamaica. The Caribbean Court of Justice is in Trinidad. Consists of Caribbean judges from around the Caribbean. Am I correct? Am I right? Or am I wrong, Luke?
Yeah, it is. CARICOM had looked at the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Appeal, because obviously in the Caribbean nation, they were of the opinion that Britain can no longer understand our culture and interpret our laws effectively, so they needed to form an appellate court that you can make an appeal. And because of our what you would say now, our innate history and culture, it's easier for high court judges within the Caribbeans who have served in the court and have written opinions or have demonstrated how erudite they are in the interpretation of the law. Because let us look at it, the law is derived from Britain, and our judges are able to now look at it and also apply knowledge of our culture. So the CCJ was formed. And the idea is that CARICOM was going to fund the Caribbean Court of Justice to become the final appellate court to decide on matters that the lower courts in the country or jurisdiction could not come to a final judgment. So you have the CCJ. People can just go look up the formation of the CCJ.
Let me ask you this question, Luke. I heard PJ Patterson said yesterday that they prefer a ceremonial president. The People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party prefer a ceremonial president. If they're forming a new constitution, Luke George, don't you think that they should go to the people and ask them what they want? Don't you think it's time for the Jamaican people, Mr. Cook, to be voting for their president and prime minister?
Well, I started out by saying that, but the thing is that the Jamaican people will not demand that. For instance, when you go to these town hall meetings, Jeffrey, notice that the people who attend these meetings cannot have a full conversation around their constitution. They're talking about water, they're talking about light, they're talking about roads. And the reason why this becomes apparent is because this is probably the only time they get to vent these immediate concern. And therefore, it tells me that to have a conversation regarding constitutional reform has to take place in a different space, in a different venue, where that is what you're there about. So you don't become distracted. Because to say constitution reform, people will say, "What? How many people in Jamaica read the Constitution and understand it?"
And how many have ever seen a copy of the Constitution? Come to think of it.
And yeah, right. You have more Bibles in the house of Jamaicans that you would have Constitution, and that is supposed to be the law. But then you rely on second-hand information from your member of parliament, from the so-called big people, who by virtue of having a better understanding, if some of them even know it, because even the big people in the country, when you listen to the discussion, you realize that they don't know the Constitution. Because how is it that Dunwelly, for instance, and a lawyer like Mr. Tavares sits in there with dual citizenship? It is alleged, because I don't know. You have Mr. Henriquez, who is Israeli. He has an Israeli citizenship. But how is it that you're saying that Mark Golden is non-patriotic when the current Prime Minister could not have scolded his member? And this matter, Jeffrey, is not a new matter. This is not a new rodeo, because I think it was back in 2008. Other people had to be giving up their dual citizenship, like Shane Alexis, who was running on the PMP ticket, another PMP member. I don't remember clearly if any of the JLPs, except Mrs. Vaz, that came to the forefront, and those people had to walk back. But when you talk, even that, you know, and I remember a couple of weeks ago speaking on your program, and you show that anybody who is a part of the Commonwealth, because one of the things that has not been ratified in people's mind, although we go to a republic, we are still going to be a part of the Commonwealth, because the only part of the Constitution that you seem to amend are those that gives more rights to the king as the final decision maker. And now this will go to a ceremony. And I'm a little bit, again, you see, a lot of people say PJ Patterson is one of the most brilliant minds in the Caribbean, and yet still he did not in that encapsulate the work that he and others have been doing over the period of time. And what were the recommendations then? What is the final? So we were paying money for people to have these talk about Constitution. Him himself, Carlisle Dunkley, David Core, Hugh Small, Edward Thiaga, Lightburn, current Minister of Justice. So it's like when you were in power, Mr. Patterson, and all of those discussion about constitutional reform was happening, where is the documentation about what were the recommendation and what were the consideration? Because you want Mr. Golden appeared and you spoke about it in great detail. Because part of it, part of the discussion has to be about us having a buggery law that we're not going to repeal. But in the Samoa Agreement, it asks for tolerance for people's sexuality.
Yes.
And how will we treat with those matter when this, because we're assigning, I believe that we're assigning to the Samoa Agreement. So a lot of deceitful things are just happening that we need to have a discussion. We need to have a discussion. But you know what? I realize that this is a true reflection of Pirate of the Caribbean. You will not know that you're being robbed or taken hostage until till people's true intention, because ulterior motive. If you have a minister who believes that the Charter of Right must be limited to give the state more power to carry out SOE and it can vindicate, you can put a man per interdiction and you take him off and then put him back per interdiction. Because he might not say the things with the Prime Minister, and then you promote one of the slave from the Police Federation. You notice that nobody stood out for Rowan James.
Nobody. Only people.
They just went to an election and said to hell with Rowan. And Rowan has fought, in my mind, a brilliant reflection of a Marcus Garvey, a Samsha, a Paul Bogart, and fight for the ordinary men and women who are coward. They are coward and everybody is protecting their paycheck. I don't feel like anybody needs to be more patriotic to this country, because the country, Jeffrey, tends to use and abuse you, and then you become persona non grata.
Okay.
You notice that Rowan James have gone off in the sun. How can you put a man on the internet and take him off? Court said you have to take him off, and then you put him on back.
I tell you something, Luke Joshua. I bet you any money that if Rowan James decide to say, you know what, the hell with all of you, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, the Cayman Islands, and other country will pick him up, And that's the time they're going to say, oh my God, we have lost a bright mind.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was hoping that Mia Motley would have picked him up, because he quotes her so effortlessly. And seemingly she's the only person apart from Anthony who is facing a backlash in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who seems to be the new face of the Caribbean leadership, who are emboldened to speak their truth.
You mean Dr. Rolf Gonzalez and Mia Motley is the face of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you hear about the rest of them so often, but when you hear about those two, you do get a sense that they understand the struggle like Michael Manley for a more developed Caribbean facing the reality like climate change, not being able to borrow money, having a court of appeal that will reflect the wish and will. But the Caribbean has a lot to the contrition of a united Caribbean, united around some single goals and value of real development, and taking it to the G7 and the G8 and telling them, look, when already on the rape we. On a rip way off, on a take with money, repatriation money. We not just want repatriation money. We want to see a Caribbean development bank that has the means of functioning similar to that of a World Bank and a interdevelopment bank, and really having backbones to stand up to the multilateral and the quadruples of the wider society. Jeffrey, you know, our politics are tenement yard politics. Man go get information from Mark Golden, and when him come out, instead of Mark Golden get a radam, the Jamaica Labour Party get a radam.
You know what's going on in the Labour Party from yesterday?
Look, the Labour Party has done one big pantomime on the Jamaican people. Them unity is a false unity that it's bursting at the seam. Yep. Closer to the election, you're going to see everybody come out and everybody want to be leader. Everybody in Jamaica want to be leader. But I would say that if you were so good for the Jamaican people, why we not hear of those good things that you're doing? I believe anybody who is vying for leadership in Jamaica must have a track record where they have proven themselves to be community developers, where people can speak to them developing programs and projects in their community. One man did win election when he was able to put some pipe and bamboo and bring water to people in their community. You need more creative initiative like that, not just the talkers. Not just the talkers who are asking us to vote for them because them talk good. Show me what you do and make me see what you do.
Indeed, indeed. Luke George Cook, thank you for coming on, my friend. Luke?
Always a pleasure. When I promise you that I come on and you know, so me come, you know, say, I am about the people. Yeah, man, you know I'm about the people's business because sometimes when you hear the struggle of the people, and I not talk just poor people. When you see all a civil servant, I have to ask people to run one hose through them house so she can get like a water, and them have run an extension so she can get like a light, and she have a gas stove and a coal she have for a bird. And when you're looking at her, she have good antique furniture, and maybe these are just the last pieces of what the happier time in Jamaica did look like. So it's unfair for me as a person. Because the antique furniture. To me now, there's nothing where any day me broke me, I'll sell my laptop. Me sell my phone. You understand? Because me now go stay broke. Because look here. Anybody where you ask to help in a Jamaica now, if them not a part of the 1%, them not have no money to give you. There's no disposable income. The only people who have that are politicians.
You're so correct, my friend. You're so correct.
Right? A counselor said to me a couple of days ago, she's sorry she run for to be a counselor because it's almost like when she step out the space, she pay people for them vote. Well, everybody problem. Everybody have a problem.
Well, let me say something to you, and we're going to end here. Those who are coming up to the people and collect and asking for money, you know, it's because of the same party that represent started the whole vote buying in this country. Huh?
You hear what I said? If you are going to do a constitution, you must have in there that everybody have to show who contribute to them election. And you have to have stiffer penalty for anybody who is caught taking 3,000 and 5,000 and selling out their fundamental freedom to choose a party based on what that party proposes to do to advance the welfare of the citizen. You must make it stiff. So the person who take the money, 5 years in prison, $1 million. The person who is buying the vote must spend 5 years in prison to the tune of $5 million. Stick it where it hurts, and let us see if we can have free and fair election without people having to have to get our money to go out there and put Jamaica first so that we all can prosper. Because if you have vote buying, Jeffrey, you're going to have elections have consequences. And let me tell you, this political process, this time, in this dispensation, when we hear people come and them say, oh, PMP is about promoting poverty, while JLP is about promoting prosperity. Come on.
Lou?
Come on.
We're going to ask this question and then we're going to go because I got to run. What is going on now in Jamaica? Do you see if the gentleman should call election tomorrow morning, do you see the Labour Party getting back in?
Again, Jeffrey, it is more likely for the Labour Party to get in with the money, with vote buying. Because I hear in some constituency, 20,000 you buy vote for. When you pay the delegates a certain amount of money, the delegates has to bring out people. So Jamaicans are not voting for the reality of their seeing improvement. The government services are easier to access. The public sector is working faster. They have good hospital. Their children can go to school. When the rain fall the other day, Jose Marti, not Jose Marti, the one out of Spanish Town there, so where the Cuban them built, it floods out. And, you know, how many schools have government bill? Have the table of bill that says that basic school teachers will get better pay, so our children are more stimulated, and therefore in the next 10 to 20 years, more Jamaicans are going to matriculate to tertiary level or vocational era training. That will see a household having one person who would have completed some tertiary level, and the income bracket will be better. So you can help the next person, you can help the next person, you can help the next person. If that's not where we're heading, to have a more enlightened voter population, then of course the Jamaica Labour Party can win, because majority of the voters are going out there because they're being paid.
Wow, and on that note, we're going to say thank you again, Lou, for coming on.
Right? It's not because they love the country. You love the country because every day you get up and talk about Jamaica land we love. When you could have make $2 more and left Jamaica and Jamaicans to suffer. You love the country. You have demonstrated that in my mind. I love the country because nobody pays me to vote. I vote with the belief that these people will change, but they will never change because who is holding them accountable? Our elected officials become God after election, and we become the battered victim that we believe that they were going to do better for us, but them do it for themselves. Because if they were doing better for us, where's the $1.7 trillion that is missing?
Luke, thank you very much, my friend, for coming on. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks much. Luke George Cook. We're talking about our constitution and what is going on in our country. I want to say thanks to you all for coming on. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Mek Wi Tavares YouTube channel. News Roundup, featuring the former Prime Minister PJ Patterson on constitutional reform. I had on a phone line a while ago. My good friend Luke George Cook, human rights activist, one of Jamaica's finest citizens of all time, who continue to fight for his poor people in our country. Thank you, Luke George Cook, for coming on. Until you hear my voice again, I'm Jeffrey Tavares saying thank you all for being a part of the Mek Wi Talk program. May God bless you and may God bless this island home of ours, Jamaica land we love. Have a great evening, everyone. Talk to you later.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, Mek Wi Talk, my people, Mek Wi Talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Mek Wi Talk, people, Mek Wi Talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that